Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You got a mark.
But that's what you like.
You got a mark, you're late. Okay, Tanya, can we have roll call?
Yes. Bob?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
Kevin?
Here.
Wes?
Here.
Carolyn?
Here. Okay, the next thing on the agenda are visitors. Our visitors are going to be the Fernandez. So whatever it is, you come up here and talk. Mhm. Tell us what it's all about, Ed.
Yeah, I have a question about along the road next to our house. We are having water which seems to be collecting over there in that ditch. And every year what happens is that when the snow begins to melt, water comes down the road and enters our property, and that's because the ditch is not cleared all the way down. And so we are losing a lot of trees at the site. This year seems to be a lot more. They redid the culvert, and with all this we've had a lot of snow, and then the snow melted, and there's a whole puddle of ice over there. Other thing which has happened on Plain Avenue over there, water is collecting on the other side of the road, and it's heaping up, and now it's coming onto Plain Avenue, so there's ice. The other day when I was heading out to work, you sort of slow down when you come to the road with the stop sign. I hit the brakes and I just slid on ice and nearly went to the ditch on the other side.
So it's coming over the road now.
Yeah, it's coming over the road. And now with this recent snowfall for a period of time, at least I think it's a little bit better. It's sort of dammed it up. But I'm worried that as soon as it melts, it's going to come across.
I don't know how we're gonna, I think I explained to Ed that the water in that ditch is something, it's much worse this year. And we don't know what's going on there. And it's aquamarine color. So we're wondering if there's not a leak in Charlie Snitzler's pond, or if there's springs in there that keep acting, and we don't know. We don't know where all this water is coming from. So I don't know, we probably won't be able to tell.
What I was hoping that after the snow melt or so, that we sort of clear that ditch and dig it through all the way through to the marsh. The water seems to get stuck over there, and then it enters all the properties. And when it dries up, what I do, I take my tractor in that, and I cut all the brush to allow it to flow. And I know the guy who comes around, he also he does the embankment, the side closest to it, and I do the side further up. But I think once it goes further down, that's where the blockage is. So that's what's causing the water to dam up.
But it's a concern right now where that water is coming from. I mean, and how do you figure it out?
Yeah, I was out there on Monday, and that's a concern in over all the townships. I pumped water for a couple hours on Monday at a different intersection. It's just the time of the year, I guess. we had all the cold weather, then it warmed up so fast. The snow melt came off slow, filled the culverts up. It froze up overnight. They thawed during the day. They filled up the culvert again. I think part of that, and I don't know if that's the case here, but in other parts of and I'll get into when I get into my road report, the people that have been plowing driveways have been either pushing it off to the ends of the culvert and exacerbating the problem. It hasn't, that along with the freezing and thaw cycle has just been a problem. So I was down there, I noticed the aqua water too. Fire department pond, I know that's going over the top.
But it's
Going
not
over still.
aquamarine color.
Well,
Right?
that's just a product of probably of what the
They're
pond is
putting in
treated.
the pond.
Right.
Oh, no, it's in the pond. They put that in the pond.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's coming over the top, and it's going over the overflow and coming out into the ditch.
Well,
So,
we'll just have to watch.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And that ice was not very thick, those snowmobiles hit that, it will go through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because the ditch is really deep now.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
okay. All right, with that,
First of all, I want to thank, is that Daniel?
Yes, I.
Thank you for your reply. I got it. Okay, I have a concern with regard to the bus stop on Klein and Marsh. And since 3 years ago, you all have given permission for snowmobiles to have access to that road. And my daughter and other kids, before they have hence graduated, they used to stand at the corner of Klein and Marsh. Initially, the bus would come to the driveway, and then because they have to go to the end of the road to pick up 3 more kids, the bus driver thought the junction would be a better stop. But in the winter, it's so very dangerous. First of all, with the fog, you know, that's not a safe place for kids. And then the snowmobile started coming. And my kid didn't feel safe standing there because they have been snowmobile just zoom past. And there's no way to know which snowmobile goes through. You know how fast a snowmobile can go. My biggest concern arose when last year I came to my mailbox because my daughter said she's being dropped over there. I saw a snowmobile, even though the bus had this flashing lights and the snowmobile went. The bus driver said, you know, it's such a quick reaction. You just can't do anything about it. How am I to monitor that? I did speak to Carolyn 3 years ago for the last 3 years, but this is the first time I put it in writing. And I got quite a backlash about this because my main problem is not just the safety of my kid. My kid has another year to go. There are other kids. I am really concerned about safety of all kids. We know that bus stop accidents have happened. It's whether with cars or any other person who goes ignoring the flashing light. And this has happened, and this has been a nightmare for me because I've seen it. I called the school, and the bus company and the school, and they said they did not have anything to do with the Macmillan Township. That was 2 years ago when they all had given permission, or maybe it's 3 years now, since snowmobiles have access to the road. You can go back to your records to see when you all have given permission for snowmobiles. What had happened was, there was one guy who came to our house, and Charlie Schnitzler and I were the only 2 people to say no. We asked him, did you meet all these people? He says, no, nobody's at home. So by way of default, he just checks it, and apparently y'all okayed it. But this time when we were walking on the road, Larry C. Hafer was putting those orange stakes, the metal ones, and he said he did not have enough because I showed him the tracks. A snowmobile went past a green electric box and flattened it. Now, as the concerned, you replied to me saying that I have to call the company. You guys are my representatives. I take my concerns to y'all first and not directly to some company without knowing which snowmobile. How am I to know which snowmobile did that? And Larry C. Hafer said maybe he's not from the association because they've given liberty to anyone to use them. Fair and square, we all have to enjoy the marsh. But if somebody could do damage like that and just move away, the snow tracks were so fresh that luckily he was banging his stakes that day and I showed him and he saw it. He said, yes, I do see the snowmobile tracks went into my property. This is the metal box. They took the side wrap and probably, it doesn't take much maybe for it to fall. I don't know what it takes, but that's what happened, and that's why the next day I took a walk. So that was my second concern. I spoke to Carolyn Opitz about it, and she said that I have to call the sheriff and tell them to monitor it. I don't think it's my responsibility to call the sheriff. You guys are my representatives. I'm bringing it out to you today because we have elected you guys, and I think you all have to move from there. These are real concerns. Yes, everybody has to enjoy, but then tomorrow if there's an accident, I hope there never is an accident. It's going to be awful because for the last 3 years this is happening, and this is a real fear. There are other 2 kids in my street, and the mom said she's not going to send her kids yet on the school bus. We have to figure this out. And I know the regular bus driver has been dropping my kid at my mailbox. But there are lots of substitutes. If you look in the Hub City Times, they are constantly advertising for school bus drivers. We do not have it much. They have substitutes. Every week there's a new bus driver. So they still stop over there. Another thing was 2 weeks ago, the bus company asked me, can you drop your kid at County E? Now, it was a snowy day. I told her I already heard 3 snowmobiles go. It is very dangerous to wait over there. She said, yes, I figured that out, but we don't know what else to do. The bus was running late, and they wanted my kid to be on County E. Now you tell me, you all have kids. Would you all do that? It's the highway. And just imagine where Marsh Road is. The snowmobiles come through there and zoom past, even if you're waiting over there. So I experienced it twice. At night, I'm giving my left indicator, but I could see from the corner of my eye, and I'm supposed to wait. And so does the snowmobile. But he thought, okay, one more look. Can I get his number? Can I see who it is? No. Even with a truck, I cannot chase him. So this is a residential area. I do not know where you guys stay, but do any snowmobiles come right into your neighborhood? Where there's a school bus zone? And then you're telling me y'all did not know there was a school bus. I'm telling y'all there is a school bus. Stop, they do not have the money, they said, to put a school bus sign all the time. So this is a real concern. I would address it, and let's see where we can work together on this. I don't know what they were doing before, whether they were using the marsh. People would come with their trailers, park at the marsh circle, and use the snowmobiles. But crossing County E and crossing the school bus zone is becoming hazardous. Now already the culvert is broken. Now, who's left to call? Y'all tell me that I have to call the company? I don't know who put it there. It was there before we bought the lot.
The culvert?
The green box, electric box. How would I call the company?
Is that, I asked Ed about this yesterday, is that on your property? You said you think it's just on the line?
It's on that line. It's just as you enter the ditch. I don't think it's our electricity comes off before that.
Before.
I
We
think
bought 2 lots.
So our line comes off where Clay, our electric supply is on Clay. This is further down the road.
Yeah, I've seen it. It is laying over.
Yeah.
But no one's complaining of any loss of service,
No.
correct?
No,
So, the problem is the real issue is, I thought your issue was not only the buses, but they're on your property. And private property, we have absolutely no jurisdiction over at all.
There is another discrepancy. You said that the snowmobiles are supposed to be on the road. Larry Seehafer, I don't think he's
Well, in our right of way.
He
In our
said
right
that
of
they
way
are
is the
supposed
ditch.
to use the ditches only, that they're not supposed to be on the road. So this needs to clarify, and they need to talk about it in front of the association.
Yeah. Well, Larry, Jamie, you want to enter into the conversation? They're from the snowmobile
Yeah.
club.
Was you the man I talked to?
Yes, Hey, I guess Larry got me involved with this.
You want to come up here?
Sure.
Maybe?
I'm Jamie Greenberg, I'm the Little Road Snowmobile president. Larry had contacted me and he said that there was an issue. This is back before we even started signing. snowmobile trails. And he said that it was run over by a snowmobile, which the season wasn't even open. So, I went down there and I did not see any tracks of any kind. The pedestal looked like it had been tipped over a long time ago. Grass was growing over the top of it. I don't know if it's a dead pedestal. I guess I don't know. I would think if it's knocked over like that, that there'd be an issue with people having phone service. So I did not see where they're driving on these people's properties. But if they do, I mean, we're set up already. Like Larry's got some posts made. We got some rims with pipes on, and we'll put up snow fence if they're going on their property. But as of now, I don't see that's a problem. We can still do that. But I did drive down there today, and I saw there was one track down the road ditch, and that is, like you said, the road right away, which they're not supposed to be in the road ditch, but.
Well, it's our right of way, and you ask for,
And we do have the speed limit signs on that road. And they're only as good as people that are looking at them, I guess. And as for people passing the school bus, again, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. I'm going to call the police and have them sit there once in a while to get. You know, I don't think there's that much traffic on that road for snowmobiles, but I don't live on it. You know, that I do.
Can you at least avoid a certain time, school bus time? That is the least you can do.
I don't know how, that the trails are open to the whole, it's like the road.
That's 6:30 to 7.
I don't know how we
Can
can enforce that. Would be,
Is there any limit at night that they can't drive at night?
No.
Or they can drive throughout the night?
they can drive through.
Okay.
But we could put up noise signs that after a certain amount of time, be wary of people that are living in these areas, because there are areas that have done that. Not that it's going to help, but at least people are aware of it. Some people will and go slow. We've had that in another section of trail where we put up signs to slow people down for that reason. But we're definitely willing to work with you. I have beaten that land from Marsh Road all the way to Man Road, and I cannot get anybody to give us permission. Otherwise, I would. We don't like driving down the road either. It's just not a good thing. But we started on Man Road a few years back, and that was dangerous. And so, we asked the town board if we could try Marsh Road, and you also felt that it was safer than Man Road, so that's the route we went. But we're willing to put up more signs if it'll help. I guess, do you have any other suggestions for us?
Do you have any speed limit signs for snowmobiles out along that section?
Yes,
And there are some posted there?
Yes.
And
There's
they're,
one on each end.
pardon me?
There's one on each end, 25 miles an hour.
25 miles an hour.
And that one's been used for 35 years to get to the marsh to the trail.
Yeah.
Because I've lived there for 35 years, and I've always used that road.
Yeah.
And there really hasn't been many concerns that I can recall.
And I respect the right of the people, not that they should be on private property unless there's permission, and we give
Right.
permission on the farm for probably 3/4 to a mile across our property. And the only way the snowmobilers have to get from one place to the other is through farm fields or private property.
Yes.
That's the way the snowmobile trail is set up in the state of Wisconsin. So, if everybody said no, we couldn't appeal to that part of the sport. I still do some snowmobiling, and that's why I figured that's a good effort on our part to let them go through the farm.
That trail, I marked that road better this year than it has been in the past. And I don't know if this school bus issue, I would assume they would have to pick the party up in front of your residence and not walk a 1/4 mile down the road.
And And I would argue that point too. I wouldn't, if I was driving a school bus, and I have done that in years past, there's no way. I have a grandson that gets off the bus at the farm, and that bus driver will not let that child out of the bus until somebody appears, either my son or myself or his grandmother. Now, I don't know if that's the rule for older kids or not, I can't answer that, but he's in he's at 4K, and is at the Y. He comes home about 11:15 in the morning, and somebody has to visually be there before they'll open that door to the bus. As far as getting off on E, being late, that's no excuse.
Yeah.
I've driven a school bus. If you're gonna be late, you're gonna be late, but you're gonna be safe.
Yes.
So, kicking somebody out on E or expecting them to come to E, that is not a viable answer in my book.
We've done it only once when the whole neighborhood decided, we saw the bus in the ditch. The bus was literally in the ditch, and it was a summer, kind of April, May, and it was okay then, when the buses started to transfer, we all went. But this time they said, meet us on County E. And the neighbor from the last house, Peterson's, they drove their car up front, but the bus, I could tell, I was on the phone, and the bus eventually came to my door, because the company, there was a little lapse of time. Because she thought it will go faster. I said, it's just not safe.
We just cancel school for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can check if there's school bus stop signs that we can purchase, to let people aware that they need to stop for the bus.
Yes.
Well, they should know that when there's a
Yeah.
flashing red light, and,
They should.
you know, they
Yeah,
should know that.
that's a major traffic violation with a huge
Yes.
fine. It's a huge safety issue. And that bus driver should call the police immediately if that ever happens.
And he was a sub, and I immediately called the company, you know, and they said, there's no way. The McMillan Township has given snowmobile permission, they said, and how are we to make the kids more safer than that?
It's for the police and the sheriff to work this out. They need to be called when that happens.
Sheriff's Department has laxed off on that too. A friend of mine was putting her 2 daughters on the bus in a car and went zipping around. They had the license plate, contacted him, and just gave him a warning because he had a clean record. They didn't want to blemish his record by giving him a fine for it, so.
That's
Well,
changing.
And it's from top down.
Yeah.
As far as the speed with the snowmobiles, when I'm on it, it's 25. I drive. I like to think my kid does that too, but I can't guarantee that.
Yeah.
I've seen them go down by road. No.
Well, I did call the bus
Saturday
company.
or yesterday?
I called the bus company and spoke to the top guy. And he was not aware that they're stopping on Marsh and so I said, well, that's what's happening. And he said, well, then he called me back later and said, I have gotten a hold of the bus driver and they are to go into your driveway and then back around out. That's the way they are supposed to be doing it. So if that does not occur, then you need to call them and tell them that they're not following his instructions. I mean, because we have no control over the bus company whatsoever.
Yeah, that has been happening. They've been coming in.
They've been coming into the driveway since
There's
I
always,
talked to them. I
sometimes
just-
there's always a substitute who doesn't know it, but for the most part, they've been coming. So
Yeah,
I'm happy.
okay, well, I made sure I talked to the top guy and said, you know,
I did
are you
too.
aware? And then I said, are you aware that they were asked to go up to E? And he said, oh, that's absolutely
Okay.
not correct. And he said, we will address it. He said, I think that the issue that they did have that one day, probably is when they asked you to come up, was because of ice, and they were afraid of the ice. So, I don't know. But anyway, I don't know, if you can get the other thing you can do is put up no trespassing signs along your property there. You know, that would help, as well as you maybe putting up your barricades so that, so they can't get on their property.
Do you have no stay on trail type stuff?
Yes, I
Yes.
have no
Yeah, there's
bus.
trail signs
I
up there, I've
have
seen
them
them.
already
Yeah.
on the signs on that road already.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, but you said you did not have enough orange stakes and you would
Right,
come back
and the
and
reason
stake
I didn't
waiting.
put any stakes in that ditch line is because of the previous phone lines being cut by the address changing, and I wasn't gonna put any stakes in until Digger's hotline marked that.
And Digger's Hotline were out twice to get it. And that's when we noticed the aquamarine water, because then it had frozen. And so they sprayed their paint on top of the ice, and it was very clear that this water was inappropriate. So it's something we're gonna have to watch very closely.
Okay, and we'll, that's why Larry had thought with the idea of putting rims with pipes on, that we can just wheel them on top of the ground, we don't have to worry about it.
And don't worry about
Yeah,
hitting a line.
yeah, so, that's what we're rolling up some rims, and as soon as we get it all
Yeah.
together, we will.
I believe the discussion we had during this fall with the agreement was the road was the trail. Because I asked about the ditch banging simply because certain circumstances, Pat's got the road cleared and it's a long way to run a sled with no lubrication for the slides, and that's why people take the ditches. And last year there were barricades that were put up in the ditches, but you guys did that to keep them out.
Yeah.
So the town right of way is an access to get to the trail, but it also has to be passable too. And if it's not passable, then you use the road. But I believe the road is the trail and not the ditch.
It is. And I did drive down there, and there are a few spots where people, like, it seems to be one track right now, but, I think as long as there's snow on the road, you probably won't do that, but you're always gonna have a guy that's gonna jump off
And the sun's the enemy already.
Those
And as far as speed for the snowmobiles, the only person that can really enforce that is Marathon County Sheriff's Department. And a lot of those guys did that. They budget overtime money for the guys to do that, unless they want to just take a Saturday, and you're almost gonna need two guys, unless they're gonna catch them one way or another and then stop and get to the intersection down there, but it's,
They could catch them Saturday 1:30 to 1:45 till 2 o'clock. That is a high traffic
Yeah.
when the bars are closing. So,
You're talking
Because-
about AM,
no, yeah.
AM, yeah, not in the afternoon.
AM.
Yeah,
So I did not know if there's a curfew time of 11 o'clock, so you say it's all around the clock.
It's when the bars close, they head back, so.
yeah.
Those orange posts are put in there by the request of Charlie Schnitzler, so
Mhm.
nobody hits the end of his driveway along with the other residents on the other side of his road, because those are blunt abutments. Those are just there so people see what, we don't want anybody sticking their sled inside a culvert. Not them abutments anyway.
I think we all keep talking, and we gotta get a resolution to this problem.
So are you willing to let them do what it is they're gonna try and get those barricades up and,
Yeah.
And if you
And-
can just run it, if they can avoid the school bus zone, that would be great. It's good for them too, then they don't have to be waiting on County E or wherever when the buses are going.
I'll see if we can get, is it mostly in the morning? Is it also?
It is, I would say that 6:45 to 7:10. The buses, when they run late in winter, it comes up to 7:10. So.
but if they go into your driveway, that shouldn't be a problem.
Correct. But,
And that's what needs to happen, because he's promised me that that's what was gonna happen.
yeah.
So if it doesn't, then you be on the phone to that bus company.
And that section of road is not part of the trail.
Right.
Correct.
It's about, what is that, what is Marsh Road, a mile and a half, mile and a quarter,
Mile.
mile? That's all.
Mhm. So, okay, well, we'll go with that, and you can hopefully do what you can do to,
I'll look into getting some signs for times, and, we can have some made, I would imagine.
okay.
At least let people be aware of it.
Yes,
And then stopping for the bus, they should be doing it. So
well, they should be.
maybe we put signs up and it'll give an awareness at least.
Yes,
More than awareness.
yeah, that would be great.
Should we put some high water signs in there too?
Might not be a bad idea. They may, if that water's really running down there, I don't know
And
whether
ice is
it
not
is or it's
You run a
underneath
slide
the
over, you
ice.
could go through. Now it may have been a little bit more, but at that time it was not very good.
Yeah, it happens even in spring. There's muddy water coming from the farm. And since you all made bigger culvert, which is good, but the water comes down with full force
Yeah,
and rushes and just
well, it's because
goes
it goes
into our
down
property.
uphill.
I think now in summer we should get the ditch done all the way
Clean
to
them
the
out.
end. Yeah, clean them,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
If I have to cross your property and put those things in, is that allowable?
Yeah.
I don't wanna walk some water if I don't have to. I don't walk in water either,
really?
unless it's froze.
Thank you, guys, I
Thank you for your
appreciate it,
time.
appreciate it very much. Okay, thank you. Yes,
Yeah, I was just wondering, why is there no comment session this time? We've always had comments from the audience.
not always, we don't have to have comments, and after last meeting, I said no comments this time, simply because it was so nasty, and we don't have to be treated like that. So if people want to speak civilly and respectfully, I'm very happy for anybody to make a comment. But I don't feel that we deserve to sit up here and be treated as we have been. And so, that's why we didn't have any this time.
Then can I give you a sheet of the questions I was going to ask tonight?
Yes, sure.
And I would like to have the board's okay that these questions are put in the minutes. They're very legitimate questions, but that way we know that we're going to get the answers that we want to.
Yeah, yes. You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the meantime, we will go on to approval of town board minutes of January 14th. You all read your minutes?
I'll move to approve the town board meeting minutes of January 14th, 2019.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve the minutes for January 14th town board meeting. Is there any discussion? Is there any corrections? If not, we can vote.
Bob,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Kevin,
Abstain.
Russ,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye.
Okay.
Reports. We can go down through those and then maybe we can address those issues that Dorothy has at the end of the, before we go into our unfinished business. There wasn't anything for the Plan Commission. Fire Department, Rod.
Since the last normal board meeting, we had one EMS call, one mutual aid call with Mosinee, and one fire call in the township. We have one new hire in the department that we received an application for. That's Eric Emerson, the individual that lives just up from here. Job descriptions for some of the officers have been updated at this time. We did a little bit of changing around due to people's, how the best way to put it, strengths. We wanted to use people's strengths instead of just giving, here's your job, so. We have also have a total of 7 firefighters that are taking firefighter 1 in Spencer at this time. We also have one individual that's taking it through MTC down in the southern part of the county. I have not yet got the Rescue 3 or the packs into Wisconsin surplus. Planning on doing that this next month here. with the business of getting everything done. I was recently informed that Stratford has increased their firefighter pay to $17 an hour, which means that they will be, when they come to our township with their people, that they will be charging us $17 an hour for their people, for mutual aid. And that being said, when one goes to Stratford for mutual aid, we feel that we should be also charging them $17 an hour for manpower. There's nothing in the agreement that we have with Stratford that says how much the hourly rate is for manpower, just that the township or the person hosting will be taking care of that cost. Training for February will be firefighter 1 skills review for everyone, and also we'll be doing nice rescue training this next Sunday. As far as EMS goes, the full fire department has been recertified in CPR. Chris is taking his EMT class through NTC, and the fire department will be moving forward on a program called Stop the Bleed. A lot of the teachers and different things in this area have already received that training, and some of our firefighters that are not EMS trained, we're going to be running them through that. That'll be an in-house training. And the EMS group will be reviewing policies with their contractor.
Okay. Thank you.
How many hours is that firefighter 1?
96.
96, and that's for the 7 that are taking it.
Yes. Chris's is also 96. He's taken through Mid-State.
I'd like to thank the board for their time, especially Carolyn for helping out as much as she could. I forgot to do it for a lot. Thanks.
Thanks for coming
We'll
back.
work on it, see what we can do.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Ruth is not here, but I got this whole big packet of adult programming. There's an adult winter reading program that sounds like it might be good. I mean, this is January through March. I mean, there is a whole packet here. There's computer and technology classes. I mean, I think they have after-school teen programs. It sounds like they're on the move at the library, so it's great that we have that available. Garbage and ordinances. I'll speak about the ordinances as we go down under unfinished business, and I have nothing on garbage. That's been a little bit of a headache with the storms, getting our recycling and garbage picked up. But people need to be aware that the little red cards that we have, if they have one of those, they can take their recycling down to that place on Hume, or their garbage if it gets missed, and they won't be charged. So we've got those in the office for somebody if they need to do it. And you just hang on to that card, because then it's good for the tire recycling also. Highway, Dave.
Like I say every year, state statute said there's no pushing of snow across any road, whether it's a town road, state road, or county road. Anybody that is contracting their snow removal from their yard, or they're doing it themselves, please don't push it across the road. That being said, we've had a lot of problems with culverts. Monday we had the rain event, and it warmed up in such a hurry. Most of the culverts I looked at were half full ice, and so it's going to be a recurring problem. Depends on how much snow we get now, how much it's going to rain. When I came from town and was late here tonight. It had started to sprinkle in town, and it was really slippery on County Trunk already. So it's only gonna get worse, I think. But the other problem we had, I guess, came to my attention on Monday, was when they pushed the snow around the culvert, they just pushed it off the ends. Well, I plugged it, that allowed all the water to back up on somebody else's property, so Carolyn gets a call, I get a call, Pat gets a call. So, it was taken care of. The ends were shoveled up by hand, but I think it behooves all of us to talk to whoever's doing our driveways, or if you're doing it yourself, don't push it across the road on the other side, don't park it on the ends. There's a number of places that has happened, and it's gonna really present a lot of problems with the spring runoff whenever that occurs, so. Any questions for you that I may answer? I guess the other thing, I don't know if you noticed all the roads, but with all the freezing and the thawing and the cold weather and then the quick warm-up, there's gonna be probably a lot of road damage this spring. And so, take that into consideration.
Did Bonnie Ashenbarger get a hold of you then for over by the cheese factory?
No.
Apparently when they're plowing, yeah, when they're plowing their stuff, they're shoveling it out, and the intersection is basically pretty well got to pull it on to see, to be able to see if there's any cars coming, so I don't know if
Okay.
Mullins needs to be contacted on that, or take a look at that.
So they're pushing it.
However, they're plowing their yard.
Okay.
It's just piling up on the road, I guess.
I'll talk to
Or on the
Josh
edge.
about that.
Okay.
Okay.
It's in the site triangles, what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will not, obviously, it will not be on by next winter on the board, but, salt's very expensive. And we actually ran out, and Pat had to run to Rapids to get it.
Yep.
I talked to Carolyn on the phone the other night. Maybe just something to take a look at again. I don't know where we got the trucks from, but an underbody blade is huge. To be able to scrape, open it up, the sun comes out. Again, the sun's the enemy for snowmobiles, but it's perfect for roads. I think the salt usage would drastically drop if we can get the road opened up to the sun. And most counties, I believe Jefferson County, they use hardly any salt that they put down the roads. Everybody's going to salt brine. Paul, you guys, city hardly uses any salt anymore. I know you're retired now, but you guys switched to brine for most part.
They used to wet the salt first of all with that. Yeah, now they've gone to brining in areas.
Yeah.
To me, and I had this out with Kurt Bornbach, but that rusts the tie bars in any concrete that you might have, which would be something like by the cheese factory there. Gets in the joints, if the joints aren't sealed, and corrodes them faster.
The brine does?
Yeah, I think everybody's eventually gonna switch to it. Marathon County's doing more of it. Wood County is mixing up different stuff now. They've got a couple different batches that they've been trying this week. But I think most trucks are gonna hold minimal amount of salt, and it's all gonna be brine in the future. So it's just something again to take a look at for, you have to get it figured out that it doesn't get so corrosive. I think the stuff we're using now is not supposed to, but anything with salt in it is gonna be corrosive, so I don't get where they're gonna.
Kevin, did you say that you were recommending an undercarriage blade?
Underbody.
Underbody, sorry. And to make sure I had that right.
So I don't know, I mean, if they got the truck from the roll, I had his name at the top of my head right now, it was in the township, the salesman for him, Neville.
Yeah, he lives in the township.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be one to contact them
Wade.
to see about putting an underbody blade on it. On a bad year, I'm gonna guess you might have to change blades 3 times if you're really scraping, but it's minimal amount of effort down to clean the roads, get it scraped off, because the plow just doesn't do it.
Is that something that can be added to
Should
the
be.
new truck?
Yeah. I would guess.
Might be
You'd
worth
have to put
looking
another
into.
set of hydraulics on it, and the mechanics to hang
Yeah,
it under there.
yeah, the mechanical part underneath should be there, whether the valve body will support one more.
Right.
Then Pat should have joystick levers in there currently. Just adding another joystick for that, it should be all balls. Just to take a look at, I mean, just, salt's expensive.
Okay, anything else, Dave?
That's all I have unless somebody else has a question or comment.
Okay, newsletter, town hall maintenance, about skipped over you. Kevin.
I got nothing.
Did we pay that guy for the
Yes.
ceiling?
Yep.
And now
We'll
he's
come back in the
he's
spring.
gonna come back in the spring and do some striping, is that correct?
Yep,
Okay,
I will make sure that he
yeah,
honors that.
well, I'm sure he will. Okay, newsletter, Russ, you have a deadline, right?
I don't do that.
March 1st for the newsletter, have your articles in.
Where are those articles supposed to be sent?
Oh, now you were gonna look into how we were which place we were going to.
Yes, and it's hard to, I did make some calls, but they can't give me a quote because we don't know how many pages we're gonna have and the weight of the newsletter. If it's a one pager, then that's pretty easy for a quote, but right now I don't know what we're gonna have.
You gotta add your financial statement in there. That's usually about 4 pages.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever had just one.
Not for annual.
Not for the annual.
So we can, you can give me an estimate of how many pages I can get back to Quick Print and to Heinzen. Those were the 2 places that I had contacted.
Well, it'll be at least 4, maybe 6. So that's usually about what it is,
4 to 6
okay?
pages. Okay, so where should articles be sent?
To Russ?
Okay.
Not junk mail, you're gonna have to look at it.
Delete. Oh, I promise you. I have the authority to cross out whatever I want, right?
Buildings and grounds, nothing there?
No.
Okay. Before we go into the clerk's report, I did have something else here that Tanya had run off for me. And what did I do with it now? It has to do with, this came from the Conservation Planning and Zoning. Joe had said he didn't have anything new that he knew of for the addressing. But there was something here from the CPZ staff had put together a couple of documents for the towns to better assist in reviewing the proposed amendments. They did have I think they had a presentation on that, and I think tomorrow is supposed to be the big day when you can go for open house. I'm not sure, they're not gonna have much company, I don't think, but anyway, some of the things that they were going to address for major revisions were setback distances for Class C town roads is reduced from 50 to 30 feet for the right-of-way. The measurements are clarified. They're going to remove the fencing wall requirement for the public-private storage facilities. Remember, we had to submit that, so that apparently they're going to be removing that. changes in the buildable area calculation standards and language, addition of conditional use permit standards for accessory structures exceeding the dimensional limitations, which is includes structures used for handicap access. Those are the major revisions. Minor revisions were spelling and grammatical errors, corrections to the tables and sections clarifying language, and then to update the Land Conservation and Zoning Committee with Environmental Resource Committee, which is a big committee that they now have. So, that they go through for nearly everything. Then there were the Environmental Resources Committee is going to be addressing the private sewage systems ordinance. So I think that is going to be changing. The other thing was with the addressing, we had. Anyway, it had to do with, now I don't find which one it was in here. It had to do with the, if you cannot ask for an address on a new area to be developed for unless you have the building permit, and then they can give you an address and proceed then with your culvert and all that stuff. So that will, in order to do that, you're going to have to get an address for a new building on a new lot. You're going to have to go with your building permit and so forth. So those are some of the new things.
So how would that be any different if somebody wants to put a culvert in on, somebody buys, I'm gonna say your farm, if it was laid out different, you sell 10 acres, they wanna put a culvert in there to have access to the woods that's there. They would actually have to have a,
I think that if they don't have a building permit, there won't be an address on it. They can put a culvert in without an address. So, but if they're gonna plan on building anything in there, then they have to have the building permit in hand before you do that.
catch-22. I think if a culvert was in, there should be an address put on the regulations.
But apparently that's not required, so.
So I did have an inquiry about one on Edgewood, or was it Swallowtail?
Swallowtail, yes.
Swallowtail, yeah. And I had contact, and I got that guy's number in, and so we're gonna size that culvert when he comes in for the permit.
So Carolyn, I pulled up that email, I think you were.
Yeah, I don't know, it's probably in here, and I just not finding it.
This is before an address is issued, a site address, application needs to be completed. The landowner, applicant, or town official may fill out an application. The address is established by the location of the driveway as it intersects the public road. So they basically are completing an application, and they have to have a copy of the driveway permit and how they access the road. If applicable, I'd like to extend the request of the driveway access culvert permit to town roads as well. Please let me know if your town requires a driveway access culvert permit via email.
And that's from Preston. He's the guy that does all the addressing stuff.
So Marathon County has not had a driveway access permit?
I don't think so.
We don't come to Miller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so
So
now,
are we going to require a driveway?
That's what you guys can blacktop all your roads, these permits you're giving over Wood County.
Permits are like $15. Don't make money on those.
Do they still come to Stratford?
no,
No.
Because remember they came and told us that they were gonna be.
they stopped that a year ago.
Maybe we need to push that so that follow up with what they told us they were gonna be coming to Stratford, what was it, once a week? The planning
Yeah,
commission?
that changed about some time ago, yeah.
That changed quite a while ago because the individual that was over there is no longer with CPZ.
I'm sure they have new people,
They weren't,
because
to
that,
my
I mean,
recollection, they weren't gonna send anybody.
But I mean,
We had
that
talked to
that
them.
They
was-
had very, very poor response
Right.
to
I mean, that
that.
was promised to the people, the
Yeah,
township, and that way they covered all of this area.
yeah, but it
Or
didn't work
everybody
out,
home.
so.
Get on the horn with your
I
county
will.
representative.
I will.
That's why we tooted the horn the first time, and we got some service, but
Well,
it didn't all through with it.
Gotta keep at 'em then. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the clerk report, Tanya?
I just had a couple of items. Just during the last month, the W-2s and 1099s were all distributed. All of the annual filings for payroll taxes were done. And then in the upcoming month, I'll be working on the Form CT or Form C. Is it Form C you're done with? CT. CT, okay. And then we did have the Western Towns Association Conference at the end of January. Carolyn, Donna, and I attended that. And to offset the cost, Carolyn was able to contact several of our vendors, and so we were able to pull in, was it 600?
675.
So we were able to offset more than half of the
21.
cost of the conference by the vendors that supported us. So, okay, that's all I had.
And it was that really, really cold night. We didn't think we'd have anybody there. We ended up with over 50. I mean, it's not what your normal district meetings are, usually 75 to 100, but we thought that was pretty good turnout anyway.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else, Tanya?
I do not have anything else, thank you.
Okay. Donna?
Okay, number 6 is your financial statement.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're both 6, the second 6. 6 on the fire and 6 on the financial report. You have a balance between the clerk and myself. If you look down, you will see that the second CD for the Public Works Dog Bridge designation, I did take care of that for your request. And that went through the bank the 28th of January. So you now have the 2 CDs. Any questions on that? Okay, and then tax collections are done. I submitted the numbers to the county over the weekend. The total statement of taxes is 3.5, in excess of 3.5 million is what we collect for all the bills. And my total collections are 2.3 plus. That's a healthy amount of everything collected. Very few delinquents in the first half. Just an oversight on a couple of people. I was able to collect, I think in excess of 3 extra garbage collections and there are a few that need. Okay, so when a house gets sold or something like that, the lottery credit gets booted out because the county doesn't know what you're doing, and also the special assessment for the garbage gets kicked out. So there will be a few because the houses change names. So I think I have 10 on my list to be sure that they get back on for next year.
Okay.
The previous owners paid it for the past year, but this coming year we'll have to make sure they're back on in November. So that's cleaned up pretty well.
What's the average, just rough percentage of when people pay property taxes? Pay in full or in the installments?
At the end of January would be the ones that, the ones in December, I had about 30% of them. And those are the ones that pay in full usually. The ones in January rarely do. There's a few. There probably isn't 10% of the what's left to be paid gets paid in full. Those are all, they wait in January because they only want to do half. That's the way their taxes are set up. So most of those people do not pay the full amount. So the numbers go to the county, and they do the settlement then, because then that gives them the right then to charge anybody that was delinquent. They can add penalties and interest and all that stuff for anybody holding over after January 1st. Also, those personal property ones are our responsibility. If they don't get paid, they're our responsibility. But I did report to the clerk that they're all paid, so there are none to be billed. Otherwise, we have to bill those. Those come out of those to be collected, and we pay those. It comes off of our money, and we have to collect it. But there were none, so they're all paid, so we're good there. So about a third happens in December, and a small percentage.
So, depending upon what the taxes are gonna do now for the quotes, there's either a benefit to doubling up paying your property taxes 1 year, or it's splitting them.
On your personal, you're talking about your personal.
On your personal taxes, yeah. So, but people have to know that and watch that close enough to know if you should double up 1 year and not pay.
Correct,
or
yeah, your
just
accountant
pay
would be
full
able to
every
tell
year.
them that,
Yeah.
but, yeah, that's something that you do by the year, you know, if you paid them in half and half this year, in December, you wanna pay the second half, the full amount, if you want to double that up, but,
It's
we
gonna
don't
be hard to
track that at
benefit
all.
from that.
That's
It's gonna be hard to benefit from that anymore, the way they've got that set up.
Yeah, because you're.
If you double up 1 year, it's not a bad thing, not a big deal, but you screw yourself in the state.
It's
Because then the next year you won't get that.
It's not pay every year. And
Yeah, that's your best bet.
Okay.
Right, and, at this point, we talked about a transfer.
Yes, with the bills, next will be her asking for the checks approved for the bills. And also, we were able to get the, on your list of your checks, which is your next thing, you will see that the dollar amounts we paid to the counties and the schools and the checks came in today. So we're able to write those bills, and I asked for those to be paid during, I'm gonna hold them a day or two, because they're not due until, the 20th. So, I will hold them probably a day or so, as long as they're postmarked, they're good. Because we do get pretty good interest off of that tax account. So, I need to transfer in order to pay those bills. Did you want to go ahead and give me that? $700,000 out of your tax account, and that you have there on your list to be able to pay those bills.
So 700, you're withdrawing.
700,000 will come out of that, and we will be able to pay those bills with that.
Okay.
I'll make that transfer in the next day or so, and then send those checks out.
Okay.
Is this just an installment for the schools and?
Okay, so when you settle in January for December, then they get the percentage, however amount, whatever amount I collected, they get that percentage. Then in February, the same thing happens again and the county settles that up, those numbers, sends us the bills, and we pay those. And then in August, we get the balance of whatever's owed. So, you know, at this point, don't quote me exactly to the dollar, but we're about 2/3 of the way there. So the county will give us our balance, 1/3 of what they owe us out of the 500 come August when we sell.
School district collection is pretty high. Anybody on the board that can lower that?
I don't know if any of you paid any attention on your tax bills. The county's tax was 905,000+ that they got for their bill. Ours was 500. The Spencer School was 48,000+. Stratford School was 170,000+. The Marshfield School District, 1,563,000. That's what they're getting. The Mid-State Tech is 168+. And North Central Technical College gets 28,000, just a little over 28,000. And then we get a few credits, lottery credit, we get some school and first dollar credits. And then the garbage and the refuge together this year was 161, and I'm sorry, 161 is the garbage, and the recycling was 27. So that was in with those bills for 189.444, 189,000. That's what that was on the tax bills as well. And that's all of it.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the financial report for January 2019?
I'll make such a motion.
And would you include, please, the transfer of 700,000, please,
It'll be a separate motion for that one.
if you wish?
We'll do a separate motion for that one.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve the financial report for January 31st, 2019. Is there any discussion on any of it? Okay.
Bob?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye. Okay, go ahead then, Kevin.
Motion to transfer $700,000 from
Tax savings.
tax savings to
General.
General.
general checking.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to transfer $700,000 from the tax savings account into general checking. Is there any discussion about that? Okay, let's vote.
All right, Bob?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
And Carolyn?
Aye. Okay, all right, so now, Tanya, shall we, let's go over our list from Dorothy. I think this is a good place for that to go before we do our unfinished business. Or did you want to do the check? No, that's in under unfinished business, so.
And the first question is, that's to ask that the question be included in the minutes. Okay, the first question, why is there no comments included at this meeting? Carolyn, you've already answered that question, and I have documented that. Second question, ordinances. Are you as a board codifying the ordinances that we enacted since 2014, or are you attending to change ordinances that are already codified?
That will be in my discussion down here under unfinished business.
Okay. The second question is, or the next question, website, why is Word used instead of PDF?
What was that?
Why is Word used instead of a PDF document on the website? So most of the time, Dorothy, I do send him PDFs. I can see if there's a Word document that you're referring
I
to.
can't, all it comes across is unavailable, and I mean, I talked to my vendor, he said, well, you'd have to change things. If it comes up, previously, I could get up the agendas.
So you're saying that you can't pull Word documents, but you can pull PDFs then? Okay, I will check, but a lot of the ones I'm sending are PDFs, but I'll check for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The next question is, who plowed the roads last Friday? And then a further comment of great job. So.
Jean and Pat.
Okay, Jean, I will
No, I plowed too, no, it wasn't.
No. Well, I hope you did a good job too.
And then the final question is, what were the repairs on the new fire truck?
Which repairs what?
I need a little more than that.
That's the question, so.
Were there any repairs on the new fire truck?
I mean, there's some door closers and stuff that we've replaced and stuff. but
You
that's-
talking tires or what?
I don't know, I just asked what were the repairs, because we had heard at the last budget hearing that there was a check went out for some repairs, and that's all it kind of just got lived through.
Engine 10 was down to Red Power, right?
The ladder was down to red power, yes. There's some steering arms that were fixed, hydraulic arms that were fixed, repaired.
Okay.
Cabinet was repaired. What else was there? I think that's about it on that truck.
But we got new tires, which were
New tires went on engine 10.
10, which were 20 20 years old, right?
1999,
Yeah.
Did we sell the other truck yet?
yeah. Not yet, that was in my report, I don't have any
Okay.
Wisconsin surplus yet.
I didn't think you'd said anything about it.
Okay. All right, let's go on to unfinished business, checks to approve.
So just one comment I had in the
Oh.
packet that I sent you guys today, we had to add one more check at the bottom. So, you have all of the listings, we have the schools at the bottom, and then, we did pay the ambulance contract. So it's due, I think February 15th. The first half of that is due, so that is on your listing as well. It's in your packet already.
Oh, so it's included in the list of checks?
Yes, it
Okay.
is included.
Okay.
That's for 28,263.
Correct.
What did you say, Dave?
That was, that last check she talked about, the city of Marshfield was for $28,263.
Okay.
Tommy, I noticed it looks like we're still paying Country Wireless.
Yep.
Are we getting out of that contract?
Yes, so we'll be submitting a termination to them this month. Rodney and I had spoke, we wanted to test the current internet for 30 days because we had a 30-day window to get out of Frontier if it wasn't working. And so I did not cancel it because of that.
So are you getting out of Frontier or not?
Country Wireless.
Hmm?
We're gonna get out of Country Wireless.
Oh.
Yes, yes, this month I'll be writing the termination letter, probably tomorrow.
So they do turn out to be the most economical solution out of it?
The decision to go with Frontier was prior to me becoming clerk. So according to Mike and all of his calculations, Frontier was the better financial choice.
Okay.
Okay, have you had a chance to look at the checks? Is there a motion to approve the checks?
Make the motion to approve checks 16,160 to 16,552. 16,252,
And there is one EFT in there as well, Kevin.
including one electronic transfer, 1901. What about the voided check? How do we include that or not include that?
I can just add it in your motion.
Just with a note of voided check, 16,181.
Okay. Okay, is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve checks 16160 through 16252 and the electronic funds. The transfer,
1901.
1901. Got it right here. Is there any discussion about things?
Just a quick question, are a lot of these relatively modest checks, are these for tax overpayments?
Yes. And so what's on your voucher listing is everything since the last board meeting. So you guys had authorized us to process the tax refunds, and that's what those are.
And Donna,
So not get another check.
Good. So a lot of these are due to,
Their escrow checks come in from the banks and they're usually over. They
Either-
empty out their accounts and some years they're under and some years we get a few that are over. This
Okay.
year was pretty, there weren't too many.
okay. Any further discussion? Okay, we can vote.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Russ,
Aye.
Carolyn.
Aye. The 2019 budget versus actual.
So, the first page that you have is the summary budget. This is what the board approved for this year. It's in a summary version. And then you'll have the actual expenses on the detailed line item on the page behind that. So we can just briefly go through this. So you'll see in the revenue section that on a budget of $500,000 for the town portion, we had $313,000 left in that tax account as of the end of January, after some of the settlements were paid. We had transportation aids that came in that second line item. And the public charges for service was the constable fees. And then we had miscellaneous revenue of $534.25. Under the expense category, general government, we've spent $7,100 year to date through January on a budget of $150,000. Public safety, we've spent $1,931.52. Public works, we've spent $18,853.25. So, as of the end of January, we had revenues of $349,397.30. Expenses of $27,875.42. Any questions about the summary budget? Okay. And then the next page is going to be your line item detail for January, what we've spent in each category.
Can we get another line on there as far as what we actually budgeted?
We didn't budget by line item though, Kevin.
Well, we did worksheets. We come up with a number somewhere.
Okay, so we did, but we can add it if that's what the board wants.
Doesn't mean that we're doing budget amendments.
That's right.
It just means this is what we did, so as we go through the year, I'm not gonna be here, but when you get to the end, you'll keep better track.
Sure, I'm happy, yeah, I mean, I have the data, so it's just a copy and paste if that's what the board wants. Okay,
Well,
I'll do it.
this budget versus actual, this line item thing,
This is just what the report's called in QuickBooks, but what Kevin's asking is for me to add the budget column to this detailed report, which I can very quickly do. It's very easy to do, if that's what you guys want to see. Let me see if there's anything on here that I need to point out. Everything was pretty.
Here you go, this one was gonna match this one on the detail.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
But you want more detail.
What we actually went through the line item and set up the budget, and then went through our worksheets. Not that you gotta do any calculation of a balance, but this is what we budgeted for that line item. And that's what we spent on it.
These match, so there shouldn't be a question, should there? No? Okay.
okay, do we need a motion to approve this or not? Or this is just our information?
That's just for information.
Okay.
There's no. And then the last 2 pages, these are just the expenses that went into the budget. So I put them as a separate place in your packet. So if you wanted to look at line items of what was paid in January, this is what was paid in January.
So where is that? Now,
The last 2 pages.
The last 2 pages, those were the checks that were processed in January. If you're trying to look at your budget worksheet and trying to determine what was actually processed, those are on the last 2 pages.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on then. Any other discussion on this? To the ordinances. What were Dorothy's, you want to go over the questions on that again?
And Dorothy's question was, are you as a board codifying the ordinances that were enacted since 2014? Or are you attempting to change ordinances that are already codified?
I have been in contact with the code company that did this in 14, and they are going to bring me up to date on anything new that we need to look at, and then if there are any changes, they will be changed. But we have to, there's a whole process that we have to go through, and this may take a long time.
Isn't there don't you have a committee?
Pardon me?
We used to have a committee for the ordinances.
Yeah, well, we haven't gotten to that point right now. We're just trying to get our stuff together and see what it is.
But then you will utilize your committee?
Well, it'll have to be a new committee. We'll see
I'll
whoever.
volunteer.
There you go. Russ and I ended up, we had a committee and everybody dropped out except Russ and I. So we ended up doing nearly all of it. So we'll see we'll see what we can.
I will volunteer if we need help.
We got it. It's gonna be a lot of work to go through. So, but it shouldn't be as difficult as what we went through, because everything was brought up to date to 2014.
Right.
Yeah, so we're just hit the 5-year point. So versus, from 14 years previously. So, but it takes a lot of work. And so, yes. Okay, thank you. So that will be, I guess we put that we put money in the budget. Can I have a motion or should I make a motion that we would like to start the process of looking at this and getting it started? Or do we need to do that? It's up to you, the board.
Well, I think if we're just gonna,
It's
gonna get done. I don't think we need a motion for that, but we're not doing anything with money at this point. So it's
No, you don't have to, no, we're not, no. And we had money in the budget, so we budgeted for it. It's just that if everybody's fine with that we go ahead and start the process, why, we'll do that. We'll start it. Okay, good. Okay, and the town website, Tanya.
Just an update on the website. I know we've talked about it the last couple of meetings. Our current budget is $1,500 a year for the website. That's what was on the budget worksheets that the board prepared at the end of last year. For me to be able to kind of revamp our website, there's gonna have to be some building done to the website. The normal annual fee is $400 a year, so that's fairly minimal to host a website, but it's just gonna take some building of the website. And so Bob has sent me some information of the company to look at, and so we can start looking at different avenues on expenses, but I just kind of want to know what the board wants to do. Are you happy with the current website that we have? Or would you like to see that kind of revamped? And some of the things that I was interested in is like an email blast. So for example, when the garbage and recycling company changed the pickup days, I could have quickly sent out an email blast from our website, and we weren't able to do that. We had to put a note on the website, and most people aren't looking for that. And so we did have a couple of complaints in the office of the date changing and just us not having a way to notify them. And then just making it, just freshening it up. So right now I don't have the ability to do that. I can add add minutes, I can add agendas, and I talked about that, but if we're wanting to freshen it up and add a few things to the website, we don't have those capabilities. So we would exceed the budget probably by $1,000 to $2,000, if you wanted to do that.
Can we ask our current host if we can put a counter on there to see how many visits that thing gets in a month?
I'd be happy to ask him to do that.
I think it's,
Yeah, I have no idea at this point. And then, I continue to investigate different website companies. I don't have the skills of building a website, so that's not in my, my skill, but I'd be happy to work with someone else, or I can work with a vendor to do it. So, and I don't mind maintaining it. I could absolutely maintain a website. So, are there any other comments about what you guys would like to see on our website?
Well, I just want to see I want to see everything brought up to date. I want it done in a timely manner. And I think the idea of being able to have the ability to send out emails if something comes up, like the recycling and the garbage that day. I mean, I called everybody I could think of that, that to try and figure out how we're going to get the word out, and it's just not possible. We don't have any method to do that right now. So I think that would be something that should be considered. And I think that if you're willing, it would be great to have you be the one to enter the stuff in, rather than trying to depend on somebody. But we still have to have a host, right?
Yeah, we still have to have a company to host it. Now, there are a lot of companies that can host websites, and you can get the websites very reasonable. I just would need to take the time to discuss it with them and see how much help they're going to be to help us to build it. But we can absolutely get a hosting company. I can sign up tonight for a hosting company. So.
Bruce, can I ask what you pay for your website for the hosting?
It's free.
Oops.
Not what I was expecting, okay.
My technical help is for free, so that would be the only charge. The rest of it you can get without doing that. And my technical help was the person who used to work for the person that does the site now.
I still have one guy to talk to or get some connections. As far as the mass emailing thing, that was, you're shaking your, yeah, I know. Unless you can just blind carbon copy so nobody can see it. I believe Deb, you and I talked about that when I was first campaigning, that because there was different, or maybe I talked about that with.
I say WDLB, they put out that the garbage was going to be late too. If people,
And Lori did a good job with McMillan's Facebook page for the fire department, and that was shared an awful lot. Whether we do a Facebook page for that also.
We can do a Facebook page.
And that would be easy to do and set up, and that would be something that would be in the newsletter, that if you want to get, I don't know what the percentage of people that have Facebook is, but I believe it's pretty high.
A lot bigger than what you realize.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do a Facebook page and put information out. My only concern would be the amount of questions and feedback that I would get, that I would not be able to maintain that.
I believe
You block that, you don't let them do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
I'm happy to, that might be a great idea to get us started, because that can be done right away. Just as an information, channel.
I'd be in favor of that, and then definitely having that, and
You're
the fire departments.
you're not gonna, but that still isn't gonna get. We need to figure out, I mean, that does, there is a lot, but it's mainly
Well,
younger people. There's
yeah.
an awful lot of people that still will not get the info.
You would have to, if you care, you would have to select that in your feeds department first for information. So when you go on, it would be there. You would get notified.
I don't want Facebook, and I don't have anything to do with it.
You already have it, I set it up last year.
So, anyway, it's just a matter, we need to figure out this, a method where the best way to get this out. And if it takes a couple of different things, that's fine, but somewhere rather to be able to get information out.
You can do a mass
Quickly.
email just through your office and put it in the newsletter that you're requesting email addresses for anybody who wants to be updated. And you could have that right on your email list.
But then, yeah, because I think there's a couple different outfits depending upon the volume of emails that you have on there.
That'd be huge.
I think some of the hosts can go up to 300.
Mhm.
It's just what the limit of
And
what
set
they
out
take.
through.
Yeah, because you do two.
You can have two different,
Okay, so you're gonna look into it and bring that back to us next month?
I'm gonna look at different hosting companies and, cost and.
count,
I'm sorry, Deb, what?
and the count, how many are actually going to the
Yes, I've
website.
got how many hits we're having on the current website. Yeah. And are we holding on a Facebook page, or would you like for me to create a Facebook page?
To me, it doesn't matter. It's just somebody's got to manage it and then.
Why don't you do with what you're doing first, and then, I don't know. I don't care. I'm not gonna participate.
It doesn't seem like the board is showing overwhelming support.
I'm just saying it's there, like, you know.
That's because he's my.
Again, that information was,
Am I right?
I believe Lori put it on there.
Oh, I saw the many hits I had.
You know, I was,
He's gonna get
if
you.
it's there and people share it, and there's, you know, like, a couple people sent me messages, thank you for letting me know, and it was, you know, it's an avenue.
It
So
is.
situations like that, maybe
Yeah.
communication with
They can't
fire
hold
department
it
for their Facebook page. You can go on there.
Amazon was enough.
And then it gets shared that way too, so.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion here? You got it straight what you're gonna do? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Is there a second? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Motion carried.
And those that do not know, because it was, I don't know, pretty quiet, everybody. Did die.
And who?
Kirby.
Oh.
A lot of people.
We'll make a motion.
For what, to adjourn?
Yeah, he
Have,
Kirby was the old timer.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're just gonna do something this spring.
You've got a contract now.
Well,
It certainly, well, many, they did want to do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Kirby was
over there?
Yeah.
Do you mind putting them on these are just invoices that came in after
There's
the meeting.
Snow's supposed to start at 9:00 tonight?
No.
What was it?
Snow?
No, midnight.
Last
11
I
and 12.
Last one I saw was no.
I don't know what I have, and I'm probably have something for you.
I don't know.
Oh, here's
I just want to know, I believe in
Yeah,
the,
Thursday, 10 to 3.
Roosevelt.
Was it good?
Everything is
Roosevelt, what's the weather out there?
Yes,
I don't know, I'm trying to
they
school.
never
Look out
closed
there.
Stratford until the morning of, they just closed it.
Oh.
Yeah, Marshall's
Good morning,
closed.
Vietnam.
Yeah, right.
Just like you.
I'll be in my truck at 3.
Yeah, that's how much.